everybody, welcome to the Comic Gaming Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and today I'm here to talk about Marvel video games. Like, on the fucking rise. Like, right now is such a weird world. In the past, decades, it used to be said that Marvel games, weren't as good as the DC games. But that was only when you compared, but there's, the Arkham series. Because when you really take a step back, there really has only been one generationally great video game, and that's the Arkham series. And Marvel hadn't produced a game of that caliber. Up until the Spider-Man games came out, and a few other games that I believe are of that caliber. But still, DC was kind of held on the pedestal. DC made better games. They had the Injustice games and the Arkham series, and it kind of made DC big dog. And for a long time, I always wondered, Marvel could do more with their licensing. Now, granted, there have been some great Marvel games. I made lists about it. Like, the Punisher game, Ultimate Destruction, Wolverine's Revenge, Ultimate Alliance, X-Men Origins, Spider-Man 2, Sony's Insomniac Spider-Man. There have been some Ultimate Spider-Man. Marvel had produced some hitters, but none of those games, hit the zeitgeist and hit the level of excellencies, or at least in the public eye, of Injustice and the Arkham series. So to the public, Marvel really wasn't doing anything. But now that the Injustice series is basically on the end, hasn't been seen in years, and the Arkham series has ended, and DC really hasn't produced a great game. They haven't, not really. And Marvel has came out with the Midnight Suns. The Guardians of the Galaxy game was excellent. And while some people hated the fucking Marvel's Avengers, which it definitely was a letdown, was a huge, major letdown, I still had fun with the game. But right now, I'm not here to talk about the past. Right now, I'm talking about the future, because they announced yesterday at the Video Game Awards, funny enough, another Marvel game. There will be a Blade game made by Bethesda. And now Bethesda has an interesting relationship right now, because Bethesda is also producing an Indiana Jones game, which means they're producing 2 games for Disney. Interesting. And it's weird to think, because when I think Bethesda, I think of, Fallout. I think of Skyrim. I think of that kind of Elder Scrolls and Fallout. So it's weird to think, so are these going to be open world? What do you mean, Bethesda? What is this going to look like? But I was already curious what the Indiana Jones game was going to look like. Now I am deadly curious what the fuck this Blade game is going to look like. Now I haven't heard anything on it. Someone can comment below and give me some more information on it. But I just saw that it was announced. And I just wanted to make this video just to talk about all the announcements. Marvel has so many games in development right now that some people might have forgot. And I'm going to just talk about these games from the game I'm most excited about to the game I'm least excited about. So that's just how I'm going to talk, because there's so many games that's coming out now. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the list of the games because I have them right here. So from no particular order, we got the Blade game announced. We got the Wolverine game being made by the same crew behind the Spider-Man game. We got the Iron Man game being in the production. We got a Black Panther game in the production, a pure Black Panther game on its own, and we also got this game where you play as Captain America, T'Chaka, or the Black Panther of World War II. I believe you play as a soldier. I believe you play as one of the Highland Commandos and one of the Dora Milaje. You play as these heroes during World War II. Now, there's not a lot on that game or how it's supposed to work, but so Black Panther has Black Panther's involved in 2 different games. Now, it's so funny because about, I want to say 6 years ago, it might have been 5 or 6 years ago. I want to say 5 or 6 years ago. Disney had kind of announced that that they weren't going to try to make Disney had already shut down their own game, because Disney used to have a gaming studio. They used to have they used to make their video games about their IP in-house. But Disney shut down their own gaming studio. And not that long ago, Marvel's at its peak, you start hearing them say that we're going to just start licensing out our IP to bigger, companies to let them make games of our IP, which they should have been doing from the very beginning. But it made me very excited. I was like, oh man, cool. We'll see, you got Crystal Dynamics, working on it. And funny enough, Crystal Dynamics and Like those two, they ended up producing a bad game and a great game in the Guardians game. By the way, like if you've never played the Guardians of the Galaxy game, do yourself a favor and check that game out. Especially if you're a huge Guardians of the Galaxy fan. I hate that game didn't get the exposure it deserved. It deserves a sequel. That and Midnight Suns. Midnight Suns is an acquired taste because it's more of a card game. But the story is just so drenched in Marvel lore and just so much Marvel in it that if you're a Marvel fan, like if you're a Marvel fan and you haven't played like Midnight Suns and Guardians, you're not doing shit properly. Those two games are so excellent. They're so better than people give them credit for. I love both of them for completely different reasons. Because Guardians is a fucking shot of adrenaline. Guardians is a fucking Red Bull can. It's here, it hits you, and it's out. The game's only about it's only about like a 12-hour campaign, maybe a 10-hour campaign. Like if you're just not doing anything, you're just doing the campaign, you can play through that shit in a day. But it's so fun, it's so interesting, it's such a fun story, it's different and the same. You should check that Guardians game out and check out Midnight Suns if you didn't get a chance to. But talking about how I'm excited about these games, the game that I'm most excited for is the game that I think has the most potential, which is the Wolverine game by Insomniac, obviously. Because it's being made by the same crew behind the Spider-Man game, and we already seen how excellent, how much care, and how greatly they handled that IP. So you just imagine that they're going to handle this just as well. Now, I have a feeling like the combat system and so much of the game is going to be very different, but I think visually it's probably going to look in line with the Spider-Man games. I think they've already confirmed this game takes place in the same universe as the Spider-Man games, I believe. So I'm excited about that game. That's the game that I'm number one excited for, just because it's in the best hands. We know these guys respect lore. We know these guys respect these characters. They're not going to fuck it up. They're not going to, try to monetize it like the fucking Avengers. You know they're going to do right by the fans with this game because they've been doing right by the fans in the last two Spider-Man games. So I'm excited for that. The next game I'm excited for, and granted, I'm not even like accounting the actual people working on these games because I just, I don't believe that. I'm just like, you never know. Is the Iron Man game. Because Iron Man is a character to me that is a great character to make a video game about because there's so much upgradability. And like when I made my list of heroes, Marvel heroes who I would want to get video games, I made it with the mindset of an actual video game. I made it under the mindset of, if I'm a designer, what character allows me to do the most and have the most upgradability and whatnot? And Iron Man, to a T, is that. I mean, from the boosters to the multitude of lasers to the rockets, all of his shit, everything on him is so upgradable to the different suits. Like I can visualize an RPG-esque system around upgrading Iron Man. Now, Iron Man is an interesting character because he's one of those characters who can fly anywhere he wants. So it's often difficult to make a linear game about a character who can go anywhere, which is another reason, if you remember my list, I kind of picked characters who was like, it makes sense why they would be in one spot, at a time. Now, you would obviously have to make a linear game out of it, but like I said, Iron Man and Superman, they're just difficult. Iron Man, Superman, Thor. Maybe not Thor to a certain extent if you play it like a Greek mythology type deal, but characters like that, you kind of ask the question of why don't you just fly away or why don't you just do that? Because they could. You have to write the story properly to make it make sense that why he wouldn't do certain things. But the Iron Man game, obviously, like I say, there's upgradability out the ass. There's an interesting story, obviously, with Tony Stark. If they add some elements of choice making in it, which I honestly think they may add into the Blade game since it's Bethesda, and they would like to do that, they literally produce games where you get to make decisions. I could see them having that in Iron Man as well. Next up would probably be the Black Panther game. The Black Panther game excites me. I don't know where it will be. I don't know what it will be about. It could easily be an open world game in Wakanda where Black Panther just roams Wakanda and protecting the streets, It could easily be that. It could easily be a story about T'Challa losing the throne. I mean, honestly, if you want to, what I would do is make it about, like, T'Challa loses the throne, and now all these bad guys are moving in and taking over Wakanda. Like, maybe Doctor Doom took over Wakanda, and now he has to fight to get Wakanda back. Because that way you can have an open world game in Wakanda. Because Black Panther can do that. in my brain, I was like, oh, how does that work? But now I'm thinking about it, that's an easy fix right there. Bad guy comes in, bad guy takes over. Maybe it's Doctor Doom, maybe it's M'Baku, maybe it's fucking, Killmonger, whoever. Maybe whoever it is comes in, takes over the territory. So now there's bad guys taking over Wakanda. You survive the initial attack. You're like, okay, now I have to regain my abilities. I have to regain. I can visually see this, like, in my brain. So I don't know yet, because there's so many games in development. But the Black Panther game, to me, has a lot of potential. The Blade game has a lot of potential, too. A lot of potential. Who knows? It's early days, but a Blade game has a lot of potential. Being a vampire hunter, depends on how they play that. And there's a lot of upgradability with that, with just the different weapons you would get, upgrades to your armor, upgrades to his senses, takedowns. There's a lot of, possibilities with a Blade game right off the rip. Now, the game that I have very, mixed feelings about, and the one that, I'm the least excited about, is that weird Captain America Black Panther game. And it's because it's supposed to take place during World War II. And it's only because I'm confused with what kind of game this is going to be. Is this going to be a game where you're switching off from each character? Or is this going to be a game where you play as each character on a story, and then it's going to be Resident Evil 6. That's the vibe. When you say a hashtag tagline like four heroes, hold on, I got it right in front of me. I don't even know why I'm even trying to remember it. What was it? Hold up, professional. Yeah, okay. We have a hashtag 4 heroes, 2 worlds, 1 war. I'm like, okay. So, what is this? Are you playing each character and playing a story? Or are you just playing one story where you're switching off between characters? And until I really get that nailed down, I'm just confused about this game, especially since they're already working on a Black Panther game. Honestly, they should have just made a Captain America game during World War II. Although they technically did that with First Avengers, which is low-key not a bad game. Low-key is not a bad game. First Avengers is not a bad game. But they could have made another Captain America game, maybe a bloodier Captain America game, don't a rated M Captain America game, rated R Captain America game, whatever, and just put that shit in there. They could have done that. Who knows? But whatever. Anywho, I'm excited for this renaissance, this new world that Marvel's going into, because after Avengers, Marvel's had hits. Like I say, Guardians and Midnight Suns were great games. Those are the last 2 Marvel games released by completely different companies. Completely different companies. And all these games are being released by completely different companies. And I'm happy to see it. I don't know what the fuck DC's doing. All they got is Gotham Knights. Who the fuck cares about Gotham Knights? Do you care about Gotham Knights? Because I surely don't give a fuck about Gotham Knights. That's all they got. I'm like, bro, but they got the Suicide Squad coming out, but everyone's all mixed on that too. So I don't know what DC's doing, but Marvel's got 6 games in development by 5 different companies. And I am so excited for it. I'm so excited for it, man. I love being able, because comic book characters in general are cool because you can tell different stories in different ways. That's why I'm always back for Marvel to have an animated universe, because you can tell an entirely different version of the story. Animated form. DC can do the same thing, although I'm hearing they're not. But anyways, what do you guys think of all these Marvel games in development? And which game in development are you the most excited for? Don't have the recency bias. Comment below. Let me know. Thank you guys for joining the Conquer Movie Show. I'll see you on the next one.